Hello, my name is Vinay Borhade. I'm an IT professional having 14 years of industry experience in insurance and banking domain. We are here to talk about a term which has gathered a lot of buzz in the industry today, that is machine learning. We'll try to demystify and understand this term, what it means. Machine learning can be seen as a bunch of techniques or algorithms which helps a data analyst to analyze the relationships between the data. Let's take an example to see what these relationships mean. We'll take an example of an athlete who runs 100 meters every day for his practice. We would want to understand the relationship between the heartbeats of the athlete with every 100-meter sprint that he makes every day. To understand the rate of change of his heartbeat, we can gather a sample of data with 200 athletes and try to build a linear regression model. So this model will try to give the relationship between the heartbeats and the number of kilometers or the distance that he would run every day. Let's visualize this relationship as a two-dimensional scatter plot where y-axis would be the number of heartbeats measured and the x would be the number of distance or the amount of distance traveled. We can again visualize a straight line that passes through all these points plotted on the scatter plot. This line would be called as a trend line or a best fit line for this relationship. This line would have an equation, an algebraic equation of the form y is equal to mx plus c, where y would be the number of heartbeats, x again would be the distance traveled. Here the important part is m. M would give the slope of the line in easier terms. That would give you the relationship between the number of heartbeats and the distance traveled by the athlete. C would be the constant. Here the equation summarizes or aggregates the relationship between your y and x axis. This equation y is equal to mx plus c can also be used as a predictive model to predict the number of heartbeats an athlete would record if he sprints a certain amount of distance. Let's take another example to understand what linear regression means and where it could be used. In agriculture business, the farmer relies heavily on his water resources to grow any certain amount of crop. It would be great for the farmer if there is some model or some technique that tells the relationship between the amount of water required for a particular crop to grow. If a farmer knows this water resources requirement in advance, he can mitigate the risk of running out of water resources. That would be of great help. Another example from the automobile industry would be an automobile engineer trying to design a car. If he understands the relationship between the miles per gallon and the weight of the car that would be, it would help him to design the car accordingly. However, these examples are a bit simple in terms of your outcome is explained only by one variable. In real world scenarios, we usually have an outcome that is dependent on more than one variables. To answer this, we have another technique in machine learning called multivariate linear regression technique, wherein your outcome and the relationship between the independent variables can be determined using y is equal to mx plus c equation, but a bit extended way, where the right hand side will have more parameters, more x values. Each x would determine different parameters that it would have. Let's say, for example, that we had taken earlier, the athlete. The heartbeats of the athlete would actually depend not just on the distance that he travels, but also on the weight of the athlete, the diet he takes, the number of distance he travels every day or the practice he does, and so on. Here, the multivariate linear regression would be able to understand the relationship between the combination of variables on your outcome. Well, that's big enough bite for the day to digest on. In the next installment, we'll be looking in depth on similar search machine learning algorithms and the use cases where they could be used for. Until then, goodbye and stay tuned. Thank you.